Prince Chinedu, son of the mighty King Obina, stared at the golden sunset over the kingdom, feeling more trapped than ever. As heir to a vast fortune and an influential throne, women had flocked to him, not for love, but for his crown. Each one seemed perfect until their arrogance surfaced, disrespect toward the palace servants, greed for wealth, and even disdain for the king himself. Disillusioned and tired, Chinedu needed something real, someone who saw beyond the riches. Desperate for a way out, he sought out Nne, his wise childhood nanny. She had always been the voice of reason. Sitting by the fire in her simple home, he poured out his frustrations. Nne, I've had enough. Every woman I meet pretends to care, but all they want is the throne, or the wealth that comes with it. Nne, with her eyes gleaming with wisdom, listened in silence before speaking. If you want to find a woman who loves you for who you are, leave the palace behind. Disguise yourself as a poor fisherman and travel to a distant village where no one knows your name. A fisherman. Chinedu raised an eyebrow. How can I, a prince, lower myself to such a state? If you want truth, you must shed the things that hide it, Nne said firmly. In simplicity, you will find what you seek. Though reluctant, Chinedu knew she was right. The next day, without a word to the king or queen, he dressed in rags, left behind the palace's luxury, and set out for a faraway village where his title and wealth would mean nothing. Upon reaching the humble village of Umuigu, he became a fisherman, renting a small hut near the river. The once polished prince now worked with blistered hands, casting nets into the water, living as any other commoner. It didn't take long for the village women to notice the tall, strong newcomer. However, they quickly dismissed him when they discovered he was a mere fisherman. This one, they would whisper, laughing among themselves. Who would marry an ordinary fisherman? Look at his hands, very rough and dirty. How could he provide anything? They mocked him openly. One day, a woman named Nkiru walked up to him. He sat by his fishing stall, only to scoff when she found out what he did for a living. You, a fisherman, don't even dream of courting me, she sneered. I only deserve the best. Nkiru and her friends would often pass by him, throwing insults. Maybe he'll catch a wife in his fishing nets. They would laugh, never suspecting they were insulting the prince of the wealthiest kingdom. But amidst this mockery, there was one who stood apart, Adara. She was a simple maiden who worked tirelessly to support her widowed mother. Her beauty was known throughout the village, but it was her humility and kindness that truly set her apart. One morning, as she came to buy fish from Chinedu, she smiled warmly at him. Good morning, fisherman. How much for today's catch? Surprised by her gentle nature, Chinedu looked up. 500 naira, he replied. Adara handed him the money, thanking him sincerely. Unlike the other women, she didn't laugh at his trade, nor did she treat him as if he were beneath her. Over the weeks, their paths crossed often, and a quiet friendship blossomed between them. She respected him not for what he had, but for his character. They would talk about life, about family, and Adara never once mentioned wealth or marriage. As the days turned into weeks, Chinedu found himself drawn to her more and more. There was something pure about Adara, something that made him feel alive again. But as his affection for her grew, so did the weight of his secret. He was falling in love with her, but how could he tell her who he truly was? Would she hate him for lying, or worse, would she see him like all the others had? One evening, unable to keep the truth hidden any longer, Chinedu invited Adara to the river bank where they often met. As they sat under the stars, he took a deep breath, his heart pounding. Adara, I have something I must confess, he began, his voice thick with emotion. I'm not who you think I am. Adara frowned, confusion in her eyes. What do you mean? Chinedu hesitated, but then said, I'm not just a fisherman. I'm Prince Chinedu, son of King Obina. I came here in disguise to find someone who would love me for me, not for my title or wealth. Adara's eyes widened in shock. You're the prince, she whispered, pulling back slightly. Why would you lie to me? Chinidu's heart sank. I didn't mean to deceive you, Adara. I wanted to find someone real, someone who wouldn't see me as just a prince. For a long moment, Adara said nothing, her face a mix of disbelief and hurt. Do you know what it feels like to trust someone, only to find out they've been hiding the truth all along? Her voice trembled slightly. I never cared who you were, but I cared that you were honest. Chinidu reached for her hand, his voice pleading. I'm sorry. I didn't want to lose what we had. Please, forgive me. Adara stood, looking down at him with a mixture of anger and sadness. You should have trusted me from the beginning, Chinidu. With that, she walked away, leaving the prince alone by the river, his heart heavy with regret. He feared that he had lost her forever. The next day, the village was abuzz with rumors. Somehow, word had spread that the humble fisherman was none other than Prince Chinidu of the almighty King Obina's kingdom. The very women who had mocked him, including Nkiru, were now desperate to win his favor. Nkiru rushed to his hut, dressed in her finest clothes, hoping to undo the insults she had thrown at him. Your Highness, she called, her tone sugary sweet. I had no idea you were a prince. Please forgive my foolishness. I always knew there was something special about you. Chinidu, however, saw through her act. With a cold glance, he simply said, You saw me only as a fisherman, and you treated me as nothing. I am still that man. Leave. Nkiru's face turned pale with shame as she hurried away, humiliated. Meanwhile, Chinidu's thoughts were consumed with Adara. Days passed, and though she avoided him, he could not let go of her. He went to her house, standing humbly before her door. Adara, I was wrong, he said when she finally appeared. But I promise, I never meant to hurt you. Please give me another chance. Adara looked at him for a long moment before her expression softened. It wasn't about the lie, Chinidu. It was about trust, but I believe you now. You showed me the truth of your heart long before I knew your title. With tears of relief, Chinidu smiled. Does this mean you will forgive me? She nodded. Yes, I'll forgive you. With joy in his heart, Chinidu took her hand and led her back to his kingdom. When they arrived, the entire kingdom rejoiced, and King Obina was proud of his son's wisdom. Adara was crowned queen, not because of riches, but because of her heart. The moral of the story is that true love is not measured by wealth or status, but by the depth of one's character. Those who judge by appearances will always miss the hidden gems within.